Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I'm actually in here in Portland, Oregon. Believe it or not, I actually had a meeting yesterday. I sat 3 hours with the with Larry Miller, the president of the Air Jordan brand. We talked for about 3 hours, and I thought it was an interesting meeting request. I didn't I didn't expect to be asked to meet with them. I had to take some time to decide. Okay, well, what exactly do they want to talk about? And we sat for 3 hours and over some food and just brother to brother. And I can't help but to say that I walked away feeling a kind of respect in terms of the sincerity there with these brothers trying to do something good for the world, something better, something that's gonna help their brand. And so we talked about it. I talked honestly. And hey, what's going on, Patrice? My daughter Patrice is in there. She said, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" Alan says they got tired of you slamming them. Yeah, he mentioned that. He mentioned that. Personally, I don't assume anybody's seeing anything or paying attention. But I guess people do listen, and I respect those who listen, even if they disagree. So we had, the conversation centered around a lot of the violence. I said, one of the concerns I think that a lot of my people that I connect with have is that there's a perception that when this violence happens, that the company doesn't care. The company is just sort of thinking about their money. I said there's also the perception that Michael Jordan doesn't care, and I said maybe that's a perception you have to change, not just through, what's the word, artificial action, but actual substantive action. So we sat there for 3 hours, and I felt like it was a meaningful dialogue. We talked about athletes that go broke, and ways to prevent that. We talked about things that can be done in terms of job creation, opportunity creation for young urban men and women. I said that your core customer appears to be that young black kid in the hood, 16, 17 years old. I said, so let's really think about all the different things that affect his life, right? He's dealing with violence. He's dealing with a poor educational system. He's dealing with a lack of job opportunities. I said, personally, I believe that young black men should all be taught to be entrepreneurs because black men are the most unemployed group of people in America. And if you read books like Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson, he explains exactly why. He breaks down, sort of why the black woman is more readily accepted into corporate America than the black man is, for the same reason that on the plantation, Massa was okay with having a woman next to him, but when you had that, very serious, big, strong, scary black man next to him, he wasn't so excited about that unless he was gay or something, which was actually a big thing on the plantations. They used to rape a lot of the slaves, male and female. And so, to this day, I tell everybody, if you've got a child, you must make sure your child knows how to start a business by the age of 12. If every black family in America committed to doing this, if just half of them followed through, black people wouldn't be behind. In 30 years, we'd actually pass up white Americans in the wealth gap. We wouldn't just actually catch up, because I'm not big on chasing equality. Equality does not matter. Equality is nothing. Equality is a problem, because what you're doing is when you say I want to be equal to you, you're assuming that white people represent the standard of excellence, and we know that white people screw up. White people are not perfect. White people are messed up in a lot of ways. They're not horrible in every way, but they're not perfect in every way. But you've been raised to think that they're just perfect people. And so my argument is that rather than seeking equality, why don't we seek competitiveness? Why don't we seek something that leads to dominance in specific industries? Why don't we seek ways that we can actually get ahead in the race as opposed to simply catching up? Playing catch up ain't fun. Who the hell wants to play catch up? I won't catch up with you. You ain't nobody. I'm gonna pass you up. When you talk about that gap, for example, in the wealth between whites and blacks, I mentioned the data to you guys before. The median black family has a wealth level of about 11,000. The median white family has a wealth level of about 134,000. So in a way, you can think about it like running a race. And in the race, it's one thing if the person's way ahead of you. It's another thing if they're running faster than you. And it's another thing if you're running in the wrong direction. So our problems as black folks is that it's threefold. We're behind, we're not running as fast, and we're running in the wrong direction sometimes. So when you talk about the accumulation of wealth and power, the answers are very, very simple. But it's a matter of sort of breaking habits that we've had. We got a lot of habits that hold us back, habits that cause us to make decisions that are not going to be beneficial to us, and those habits have to be dealt with. It's like I compare it to talking to an obese person about losing weight. Like you can tell them, like, look, hey, you're overweight, you're big, you need, you're gonna get diabetes, you're gonna have a heart attack. You can't keep living like that. And you know what they're gonna say? They're not gonna say, "Oh no, I like diabetes. I want some. Give me some extra diabetes with my cheeseburger. Let me get a heart attack on the side, right?" They're not gonna say, "Let me get some little cancer to go with those fries." They don't. They're not gonna say that. They're gonna say, "You know what? You're absolutely right. You're right. I need to lose weight. I need to exercise. I need to eat better." But then a lot of times they won't do it. Well, the question is why? Why, if you know that it's right and you know that that's what you need to do, and you're in agreement with me, well, why don't you do it? It's the subconscious mind. If you want to really understand that psychology is everything. I love psychology. It was actually my favorite uh, subject in school. My three favorite subjects were psychology, computer science, and then finance was actually third. So when I got my PhD in finance, my area of expertise was actually financial psychology because I'm fascinated with how the mind shapes everything. Money is mostly psychological. Money ain't about know-how. It ain't about how much money you get. It ain't about how much money you're getting. It's really your mindset. If your mindset's off, then you're gonna be broke. If you got a broke ass mindset, then you're gonna be a broke ass dude. Period. Broke ass woman. You're gonna stay broke because people with a broke mindset, when you give them more money, they just go broke again because they keep doing whatever they were doing that caused them to go broke in the first place, right? People who have a mindset of wealth that is built on accumulation, aggregation, sort of storing value, those people tend to always find a way to get money. Those people always find a way to get ahead. Like, for a lot of people, I know a lot of people where you could take away every penny they got, but believe me, before the year's up, they're gonna have a way. They're gonna find a way to bring that money right back. They're gonna find a way to get money again. So it's all about our mindset that's gonna really shift where we are in our trajectory. And it's not our fault that our mindset is what it is. You were trained to think that way. The reason I recommend you reading Black Labor, White Wealth, but you can actually get a copy if you go to the drboycelibrary.com. We actually sell this book as well as some other books. But the money goes to Dr. Anderson. We send you to his platform to order the book, but I just have the books collect in one spot so you can go get them. But go to the drboycelibrary.com and you can get a copy. And I'm doing this to really also help support Dr. Anderson because he's not feeling well. And I just feel like this book is literally the greatest book I've ever written. It's probably the greatest book ever written in American history, writing with Powernomics, another book that he wrote. And I really think that every black person in America needs to read this book. It should be required reading. Don't go to school. Don't send your kids to school. Let them tell you to read some Edgar Allan Poe type shit or some William Shakespeare or whatever the hell. Have them read that after they read Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth because they need to know who they are before you get them white folks get a hold of them and tell them that they're somebody else. That's the problem. They want to grab your kids. That's how oppression works. If you want to really make an oppressive policy really work, you grab the children. That's how you do. That's what Hitler did. Hitler said, I need the kids. Give me the babies. Give me your kids, right? When they took over Native Americans and really wanted to oppress them, they were like, give me your kids. So they would bring their kids and take them away and educate them and teach them to be white. And they will punish them if they were like, if you get caught speaking your native language, you're going to get punished. You get caught following any of your old traditions, you will be punished. You get caught doing spiritual dances and anything Native Americans do, you will be punished. And then at the same time, you're being rewarded for assimilation. So they did that to the Native Americans, and they don't hate Native Americans when they hate black folks. They're giving Native Americans billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in reparations. They ain't gave you shit. They ain't gave you nothing. Not a damn penny. Nothing. Nothing. So they really hated the Native Americans, but they triple hate you. So at the end of the day, even our so-called friends, the Democrats, all these other people showing up saying, "Oh yeah, we like black people. We gonna help save you from the Republicans because they're gonna kill you, and without us, you ain't nothing." Those people don't care nothing about you. You got to love yourself. You don't even care about yourself half the time. That's a problem. We don't even. I mean, we are the biggest white supremacists that there are. White supremacy works because we support it so much. So anyway, do this. If you're on social media, I hope you'll hit a button to share this. If you're on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, I hope you'll hit share or follow. I don't know if there's a follow button somewhere, but there's probably a follow button somewhere that you can hit. Also, we have different financial literacy programs if you're interested. We actually just started our stock market class on how to invest in the stock market. I saw a lot of people were afraid of the market. They don't understand it. They think it's going to cause them to lose a lot of money. And what I want to do is introduce as many people as possible to just all the money that you're throwing away when you don't participate in the stock market. Literally, I did something the other day where I said, I took the $15 I spent on a burrito. I got a burrito for lunch, and I said, let's pretend like I took this $15 a day and I was to put it in the stock market, that same amount in the stock market, and I did that, say, 1996 up until today. I would actually have $300,000 in the stock market just from that burrito that I was eating every day. $108,000 would come from what I put in, but the other $192,000 would come from compound interest. So I would actually make more money from the interest than from the actual savings itself. So saving money ain't enough. Saving money is not enough to get ahead in this world. You got to save and invest. Saving money gives you financial security. Investing can make you rich. So anyway, and I'm not, making it up. I'm not selling snake oil. I got real data to back it up. I have a real PhD. I'm not like, the good Reverend Dr. So-and-so who got his PhD on the internet in 2 weeks. I was in school till I was 30, and I've taught at 5 major universities, and so I know my stuff. So anyway, if you're interested in signing up for the stock market class, you can actually go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Write that down, blackfinancialliteracy.com. We have the stock market program, the boot camp, our kids programs, all kinds of stuff. And so, in fact, when I was talking to the guy at Air Jordan, because I had to do kind of the smell test to see if I really felt like they were sincere when they were asking like what they could do. I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, we do have a program for children, and these kids already like Jordans. I said, so maybe there's some partnership where you can help me reach a lot of these kids whose parents don't have the money or the desire to educate their kids. Because I would love to. We've already with our own. We can do it on our own. We can do a lot of this on our own. Actually, we don't need corporate sponsorship, but just on our own, we've been able to put 4,000 children in our wealth building programs for kids, which is great. That's getting us part of the way to our goal of 100,000. We want 100,000 children. It's Project 100,000, where we want to get 100,000 black children trained on the basics of financial literacy, wealth building, and cooperative economics, because these are going to be the leaders for the next generation. If you read Black Labor, White Wealth, Dr. Anderson's book, one of the things that Dr. Anderson says is that we need to get away from black leadership where they simply give you a good speech and get you all emotional, and then they don't give you no plan of action. You just go home and you wait for the next crisis to hit so that you can have another emotional speech in reaction to some horrible shit somebody did to you because you wasn't prepared. He said leadership must be proactive. You need a plan. You need institutions. You need structure so that over time you're producing what you need in order to be ready, right? You can't fight a war when you build the army after you've been attacked. That don't work. You don't build the army after somebody done attacked your ass. You can't do that. It's over. You already beat. You build the army in advance. And so long story short, what I want is I think my theory is that if we build a black economic army, just an army of black kids, 50 to 100,000, that's all we need. I don't need every child, just 50 to 100,000 good kids that are ready for the future, that love black people, that want to build. They ain't out here chasing jobs, ain't begging somebody else to get connected to what they got going on. They understand the importance of building. I guarantee you that will literally take the wealth gap and make it disappear. The same wealth gap between whites and blacks they think is going to last for a quarter of a millennia. They think it's going to last another 250 years. It doesn't have to be that long. Actually, mathematically, I can show you the math to back up what I'm saying. You could get rid of that gap in 20 or 30 years if we just do the same thing with our kids. We just have to take the lead on a couple of key areas that will help us to surge ahead of other people. And I can teach all of that. I know all of this stuff. And then that was what I was actually talking to the guy from the Jordan brand about. Is I said, look, you're in sports. You got all these athletes coming through. The kids love your brand. I said, it sounds to me like you're saying that you want these young kids to know about the business of sports. We know every black boy, damn near half the black boys want to be football players and basketball players. But you've mentioned to me that there's a lot of money that can be made, a lot of opportunities that come outside of just being an athlete. You might not be able to dunk a basketball, but you can do a lot of other business-oriented things in sports that surround that. And it's crazy because he said that, and I said, well, Dr. Claude Anderson. See, I carried this, but I pulled it out of my bag. That's how ridiculous we were at the meeting. I pulled this book out and I said, well, Dr. Claude Anderson actually says that in chapter 9 of his book, he has a concept that he talks about called vertical businesses or vertical business integration, where he says black people should take the industries where we dominate, the industries that we love, and we should obliterate those industries. We should own every single dimension of that industry, every piece. So you talk about sports. You know what? LeBron James has it right. LeBron has it right. LeBron said, okay, I'm going to go dunk the basketballs, and I'm going to bring in a whole lot of money because of that. But I'm going to get all my boys, and I'm going to make sure that my boys understand all the other things that happen after I dunk the basketball, from the branding to the marketing to the sneakers to the whatever it is, from speaking engagements to consultancies to business partnerships, everything else, so that we can literally take over every dimension of everything I do. It ain't about me just dunking a basketball, getting my little cut of the money, and then having a bunch of dudes just hanging around, paying an entourage to do nothing. He put those guys to work. And as I've always said in cooperative economics, trade is always better than charity. Trade is always better than charity. That means that you're better by giving somebody a skill than you are by giving them a donation. When you get those relatives, when I get friends and relatives that call me for money, I put them to work. I'm like, you know what? I need some help. How about I'm gonna train you how to do this, and so you're gonna get some skill. You're gonna get to hang out with me, and I'm intense. So you hang out with me for about 2 weeks, you ain't gonna be the same person. So I'm gonna give you that, and I'm gonna put some money in your pocket, so you'll be good, and you're gonna help me. You're gonna earn your keep. So that way, I'm not looking at you like a charity case, and you're not looking at me like I owe you, like you owe me something. You get to maintain your dignity. I get help. I don't want to be Superman carrying everybody on my back. No, I want us to be able to carry each other on each other's back. You can't be a successful person when you're surrounded by unsuccessful people. That does not help you, and it does not help them. You cannot be a rose growing in the middle of a bunch of like mud and sand and weeds and everything else and poison ivy. You have to grow other flowers that will grow with you. That's what real power is. You must lift as you climb. That's really important. So anyway, I got in trouble. I got some heat the other day, and I think it's fun. I love to address things head on, because I'm not in this game to make friends. I'm not in this game to get likes and friendships and all that, or for people to say I love you, boys. I don't care. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate it when you love me. I love you too. But I think that we grow when we debate, when we talk about the core issues. When you disagree with me, that tells me that you're thinking, right? And so anyway, I said something the other day. And I was thinking about it because I talked to my daughter about it. My daughter's big in hair, and we have daddy-daughter conversations. Sometimes we do them publicly, and you can go see them on my YouTube channel if you ever want to go there. But sometimes we do a lot more privately, where we talk about life and smart decisions. So one thing I said was, with all the money that black women are spending on hair and beauty, there's no reason why black women should not dominate that industry. That's number one. Like, fuck all this stuff about and I need to stop cussing. My God, I keep telling myself I'm not gonna cuss no more, and I just do it. Forget the stuff about the Koreans owning everything. That ain't supposed to be the case. That's not supposed to be true. People build entire industries off of you. People send their children to college off of your money. People go buy property with your money. People make investments in the stock market with your money. And I said, black women should dominate that industry, number one. And I said, number two, maybe we should reconsider the idea of believing that you can wear your wealth on your head, or that you can wear your wealth on your feet with some red bottom shoes, or that you can wear your wealth in a purse, in a leather Gucci purse, or whatever it is that you got that makes you feel like somebody, right? That's not wealth. You don't gain wealth through excessive consumerism. It does not mean consumerism is a bad thing. It does not mean that you can't buy nice stuff. Fine, buy nice stuff. I'm not judging that. Like I told the guy from the Air Jordan company, I told him, I said, I don't have a problem with people buying Jordans. I said, I have a problem when people only buy Jordans and they don't invest in themselves. They don't build for their future. So they make a paycheck and they spend it all on Jordans, and they ain't got nothing to show for it except some shoes. That ain't gonna go too far in this world. So you can't feed your kids with shoes. You can't do that. So anyway, when I mentioned that, I don't know how they took it, but I know there was a whole bunch of people that were like that really loved the comment, that agreed, but then there were a lot of people that were mad. They really felt like somehow, and I think sometimes it's like black feminists. A lot of times just they just resist patriarchy, like just instinctually, like anything that sounds like a man telling them what to do. They're like, I ain't gonna listen to no man, right? And I feel bad for them. I'm like, man, it's my guy. Let's call Ayana Van Zant. And let's go find your daddy so y'all can patch that up, because right now you getting real angry for no reason. But because I've always felt like, well, why wouldn't black women listen to black men who care about them? Why wouldn't black men listen to black women who care about them? I grew up getting advice from my mama, and I never looked at her and I was like, you blankety blank, why the hell you trying to tell me what to do with my money? My mama would be like, because you're being stupid with your money. If I was running around putting dollar bills, all my money in stripper thongs and buying Xboxes and Jordans with all my money, and it left me broke, then yeah, I would expect my mother to come to me and say, what are you doing? This ain't making no sense. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, why do brothers? Why would brothers do that? I would expect that, right? I would expect to be guided by sisters, right? I get guided by my daughter. My daughter gives me advice. I get guided by, I'm not married, but I have strong, intelligent women that I work with who tell me what to do. They're like, Boyce, you need to stop doing that. That's stupid. And I'll be like, okay, yes, ma'am. And my mother calls me, and my mama will call me. She won't cuss me out, but she will bless the hell out of me if I say something that she doesn't like on social media. Why did you say that? You know that ain't true, right? So anyway, my grandmother, I made a movie about my grandma telling me what to do. It's called The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence. You can actually watch the trailer if you want at blackfinancialintelligence.com. That's blackfinancialintelligence.com. So long story short, I never thought it would be threatening or discomforting to have someone of the opposite gender give you advice if they do it out of love. That's the thing. If they do it out of love, that's one thing. If they do it out of criticism, that's another thing, right? So like if a sister was to come up and be like, well, y'all now all y'all niggas just do that, then I would be mad. I'd be like, no, all of us don't do none of that, because that's not who I am. So don't put me in a category with Bobo the fool or whatever your ex-boyfriend's name is, because I'm not him. So I think that maybe was there, but I saw this emotionality and I said, ooh, this is interesting. Let's drill on this issue. We struck a chord. Let's go deeper in this. And I'm not really talking to those who are never going to listen, because some people just get so caught up in disagreeing with you and fighting with you that they're not ever going to listen. That's cool. I don't care. But I'm really talking to those people who are looking for a better solution, because here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you're a black woman and you're listening, or you love a black woman in your life, which should be every black man on here, every brother on here, if you don't love black women, you don't respect black women, then you need to just go. You're not welcome here. I want you to try to love your sisters. Sometimes it's hard because black people are damaged. But here's the problem for black women when it comes to wealth. The median net worth of a single black woman in America, the median net worth of a single black woman in America is $5. $5 motherfucking dollars. $5. For white women, it's like 60,000. That's wealth. For the median black woman, it is $5. That's nothing. That's nothing. So, you know what? If you don't think that's a problem, then I don't really know what to say. What I really will beg to consider or suggest is that we are so accustomed to playing strugglenomics that we don't believe that we can improve our condition, and we don't care to try. Right? A lot of times the reason people don't invest in themselves or invest in their future is when they have such little hope that their condition is going to get better that they just say, well, what's the point in trying? I might as well just live for today. Or maybe when you've been traumatized, you've gone through so much pain and you're in so much pain all the time that you do things like excessive consumerism, maybe irresponsible sexual behavior, or drug and alcohol consumption, or in some cases, I ain't gonna lie, in some cases, excessive Bible thumping, quoting Bible verses every 30 seconds, because you're feeling something inside of you, a pain that you're constantly trying to manage and deal with. right? Now, I'm not saying religion's bad. I'm not dissing that at all. I'm not saying that at all. But some people are not so much children of God or connected to a higher spirituality. Some people are just addicted to religious repetition as a coping mechanism for all the trauma that they've gone through, right? So, what I would almost suggest is that, part of what we do as consumers, the fact that we consume more than other people, the fact that other people build empires off of your back, they literally get you to give away all your money so they can build their own community. Um, if you don't see that as an issue, then I don't really know what to do. And so I was actually looking in Dr. Anderson's book, and there's a section where he says, in the very beginning actually, where he says, we have always been a key capitalistic element in the national empowerment plan of others as a source of free or cheap labor. And he also didn't add, excessive consumption, right? He says, yet we have never had a national empowerment plan of our own. We have never used our collective intellectual resources to create a national plan with explicit policies and strategies for our own economic and political gain. So the best thing I can do as a scholar, I mean, a lot of PhDs, I know we can't do much. The PhD, we find ways to waste our doctorates because we spend our time serving these white universities that hate us. The least I can do is offer my intellectual insight into how money works, to say, if this is the industry where you're spending all your money, if this is the industry that you know the best, then you should dominate this industry. When my daughter and I were talking about hair, my daughter is a maestro at hair and beauty and all that. I'm talking about a genius. She's a genius because, well, I mean, she's my daughter, so we got those Watkins genes. I'm gonna brag a little bit, but she's also a genius at it because she loves it. She's obsessed with it. That's what she thinks about all the time. And I told her, I said, when you go into this industry, you got to decide: do you want to be a pimp or a hoe? Or do you want to be something else, right? Now, I'm not saying you should pimp people. I'm not saying you should screw people over. But there are a lot of people who get pulled into an industry who get used by those who have the power. Well, and the difference is that the people who have the power understand the business model. They understand where the money's at. They understand how the institutions are built. They understand where the power exists. And they position themselves and their children to be the people that have the power, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump raised, you might not like him. I don't care if you like him or not. That ain't the issue. Donald Trump does not raise his children to be anybody's servant. In fact, his son's name is Barron. He gave his son a name that reflects royalty. Baron. A baron is a leader. It is an elite royal person. And psychologists will say that even on a subconscious level, that the name you give your child affects what they become. So when you name for example, children who are named Dennis or Denise are far more likely to become dentists. That's because and if you ask them, well, why did you become a dentist? They'll say, oh, because I like teeth and the money's good and all this other stuff. No, it's the subconscious mind playing a part in all that. So subconsciously, as Black people, you've been taught to be inferior. You've been taught to believe that you are to be the economic and political side chick of those who actually have power in America. And it takes time for us to train ourselves to understand you're not meant to be the whipping boy or the whipping girl. You're not meant to be in the lower tier. You're not meant to be used by other people. You're meant to have real power too. So my argument when it comes to Black women in the hair care industry is this. Look, according to Essence magazine, an article in Essence, Black women spend $7.5 billion a year on hair, makeup, and beauty. $7.5 billion a year. And there are people that live off of that money. There are people that say, oh my God, we need Black women to come and just give us money in exchange for this stuff that isn't going to make them wealthy, stuff that they're going to have to keep coming back and buying more of it, so that we can take that money and our money isn't going to disappear. Our money is going to actually be put into capital investment projects. It's going to be put into building our community. We're going to make sure our children are taken care of. We're going to educate our families with this money. But Black women, I guess you get to look fly for a couple of weeks until you got to go back and rejuvenate the whole process, start it all over again. I personally believe that if Black women are spending that much money in the industry, then there should be an equally diligent effort to train them on the business side of the industry. So what I said to my daughter is I said, I believe that you should be as obsessed with understanding business models as you are with understanding hair and makeup and beauty. I said, you think about Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is not a billionaire because she's famous. She's not a billionaire because she's on TV. She's a billionaire because she spends as much time thinking about business as she spends thinking about entertainment. So what I would just generally say is that you got to find a way to jump into the industry. Here's a second point I made, and I think, and I humbly submit it. I mean, you got to take my advice. I mean, what do I know, right? But I said, if you were to find a way to reduce, because here's another issue, right? Black women spend more money on beauty products than everyone. I think that I think according to Ebony, I think I could have sworn that they said black women spend 80% more or some I mean, it's insane, right? It's an insane amount of money. And so, so given they spend that much money, I said, well, what would happen if you learned to love yourself a little more, got a little more comfortable with who you are, a little more comfortable maybe with your natural hair, whatever, not judging, not telling you, not dissing you if you got a weave, if you need the creamy crack, that's all good. You do all of that. I'm not judging you. But what would happen if you found a creative way to reduce your hair, makeup, and beauty bill by about 10%? Do you understand that that would have a huge impact on the wealth level of the entire African American community as a whole? A huge impact. That amount literally would take the median wealth level of the single black woman from $5 and probably in about 2 decades put them equal or beyond white women, higher than white women. Because literally, I'm telling you, if you did the math and you take the amount of money you might spend on hair every couple of weeks, hair, makeup, and beauty, I want you to one day try to add it up. And imagine if I took 10% of that and put that, the way to imagine what would happen if I put it in the stock market for 20 years is to take that number and multiply it. Take the amount per month, right? So let's say it's $100 that you spend a month, that $10. So take that 10 and you would multiply it by, let me see, 500, 1,000, 3,000. Multiply it by 3, is it 300? Yeah, 300, right? So that would tell you approximately how much more wealth you'd have in 20 years if you save that money. So if you spend $300 a month, take that $30 a month and multiply that by about 300, and that'll say something about how much money you'd have, how much wealth you'd have if you put that money in the stock market. And or another thing too is having that extra money would allow you to do other little things that would build instant wealth in the black community. Like it would allow you to buy more life insurance. Life insurance policies are a great wealth transfer mechanism. No black person anywhere, if you listen to me, if you respect anything that I say and you're right here in this conversation, you should never die without life insurance. If you die without life insurance, I will show up at your funeral and I will make fun of you. And I'm going to talk bad about you on the pulpit because you should never die without life insurance, because that means you don't care anything about your family, because your family's already dealing with your death. In addition to that, they're going to have to deal with trying to figure out how to raise money for your funeral. So why would you do that to the people that you care about? Why would you do that? Why would any good parent do that to their children? If I did that to my daughter's grown, and my god kids are grown, but if I did that to my family, I would feel like the biggest loser, pathetic black man known to man, because life insurance don't cost that much. And also life insurance on your children as well. I just heard about somebody whose child died, and the family's not just dealing with the grief of losing the child suddenly. They're dealing with the fact that now they got to go fundraise to pay for the little boy's funeral. And I said, don't they know life insurance policies for children are practically free? Because the odds of a child dying are incredibly low. I don't know. I bet you I could Google right now and look up the average. Let me see. What is the average? Let me Google this. I gotta look this up. By the way, while I'm doing this real quick, if you're interested in getting a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, you can go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. While I do this real quick, please hit the subscribe button and invite your followers in. And also, if you want to see some of our programs like the stock market investing class, go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. So let me see here. The average cost of a life insurance policy for children. So let me see. What is the average cost of a life insurance policy for children? Google seems to know everything. So let me see if I can get anything quick. Let's see here. Okay, here's something that life insurance for kids. Let me see here. Um, no parent. Well, here's what this article says. It says no parent likes to consider having to handle burial expenses for a child, but life insurance for kids can provide money for final expenses without placing a burden on family finances. Funeral expenses can easily cost $10,000. Most policies for children, excuse me, are relatively inexpensive, amounting to less than pennies per day. Coverage can consist of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and cash values can amount to considerable sums in a relatively short period of time. An average policy of $100,000 worth of coverage can cost $15 a month. $15 a month. So here's the thing. So when I think about the family that I heard about who's burying their child, and again, I am not at all shaming anybody or really ridiculing anybody, but I just imagine how much easier their lives would be if they had $100,000 check coming that would help them to deal with the aftermath of all of this, to pay for the funeral. They could maybe use the money to create a scholarship fund for the other children. You could take $100,000 right now. Let's say you have other kids that are under the age of 9 or 10. That $100,000 could grow into enough money to send all the other kids to college, or at least one or two of the other kids. So, I would say for black folks, if you're talking about wealth, you can't not have life insurance, even on your children. A lot of black people won't talk about death because they somehow think that talking about it is going to make it happen. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but actually, you're going to die. I know that you probably just don't think it's just going to occur, and you probably think I just cursed you with death. But at some point, you're going to die. Black people die more than everyone else. So, at the end of the day, I think we got to just be more thoughtful about some of this stuff. So I would just say that when going back to the hair care thing, with all the money that black women spend on hair care, there's no reason that Koreans own 60% of this industry. No reason. I'm not saying that you should be mad at them for this. That you should actually learn from them. You should applaud their effort. Good for you. You found an opportunity to exploit a group of people and to milk them like cows, and you did it. Good for you. Keep your wealth. Enjoy your money. But now we got this. We're going to take this over. We are consciously making an effort to spend our money with our own people because our people need it more than your people need it. And I think that's really important. If you want to make money, go make your money in Korea. Go make your money selling products to your own community, because we know that as much money as we given y'all, as much as we've done for you, as many billions and billions of dollars as we given you, you ain't gave us nothing. You ain't taking a penny of that money and putting it back in our community on any level. You don't even let us work in your stores. You don't even trust us when we come up in the store. You're eyeballing us like you think we're going to steal something. So you know what? We have this new thing. We had a new discovery in the black community. This new discovery is this thing called self-respect. We decided that we actually care about ourselves enough that we're not going to let you exploit us anymore. We actually love our children more than we love your children. It's okay. Your children are cute, but our children are cuter. Our children matter more to us, and we're going to keep that money in our own community, and we're going to take care of ourselves. I think that's it. I think that's basically the conversation we need to have with everybody. I really think, at the very least, the same amount of effort that we put into basketball, football, and church should also be put into economic empowerment and economic development for black people. Now, a lot of people will tell me that not everybody's cut out to learn entrepreneurship. Not everybody wants to learn about investing. Well, you know what? I don't really want to be a soldier. I don't want to carry a gun. I wouldn't want to shoot anybody. But if my village gets attacked, then I'm going to have to learn how to pick up a gun, because if I don't defend my own people, then nobody will. So when you talk about raising children, teaching your child to get a job is not enough. You must teach them how to create a job. You must teach them how to build a business as a plan B in case plan A don't work, in case Mr. Charlie don't decide that they don't want to hire them. A lot of our kids are going to college and graduating and they think that they're white. They're coming out of college literally thinking, well, because I got this bachelor's degree and I made good grades like the white boy, I'm gonna get the same job that the white boy is getting at the white companies. Newsflash, that's not your company. That does not belong to you. They built that for themselves. They built that to take care of each other first, and they give you the crumbs. They give you whatever's left after they take care of their own people. And the thing is, you have been trained to believe that that's racism. Well, that's just racial discrimination, and that ain't right. That just ain't fair. No, it's not unfairness. It's human nature. It's human nature. If you got a choice between taking care of people that you know and you love versus taking care of a stranger, who you gonna take care of? Who you gonna take care of? Who's gonna get your money first? Your children or somebody else's child? Seriously. I mean, it's insane. It's ridiculous. And that's why integration screwed our mind up. It really screwed our head up. Like we're like the adopted, abused stepchild who really thinks that we are a member of the family. They told you, well, come on in, little black baby. We gonna love you just like we love the other kids. And the other kids are sitting at the dinner table already. They already took up all the seats at the table, and you try to get a seat, and they're like, no, we would let you sit here, but everybody else is already here, so you can sit over at the little table, or you can sit on the floor with the dog. How about that? Right? That's what you do. And so at the end, my point is, I'm gonna quit with all that. But my point in all this is to say that nobody's ever going to love you as much as you're supposed to love yourself. And we don't love yourself. People look at you like you're crazy. They're like, well, we love ourselves. We don't expect anybody to take care of us. We don't expect anybody to give us anything. So why do you expect people to give you something? It doesn't make any sense. So, all right. So my point on all this is to say that in Dr. Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, which I brought up earlier, he actually talks about vertical integration and black people taking over industries that we participate in. So that means for the brothers, I had a conversation last night with a rapper by the name of D1. I love D1, and at some point I'm gonna have a conversation with Young Ma, the new female rapper that's out there. She's reached out to me, I guess, a few times, and she says that I'm the reason that she's actually famous, believe it or not. She actually says that me being on her being on my Facebook page is what made her big. It's actually out there. It's Googleable. You can go Google that. I'm not blowing my own horn or anything. I'm not even bragging about it. It's actually more of a nuisance because now I'm hearing from all these rappers that want me to make them famous, and I'm like, I don't really know how to do that per se. I'm not a person that is really big in the music industry like that, but I do understand industry. I understand the music industry in terms of how they ripping your black ass off because you sit up in the booth, you so busy making music, smoking weed, chasing women, and buying fancy cars that they up here just stacking your money up in the back room, and you don't even know it because you don't even know the money came in. You don't even know the very basics of how these business models work, because when Lil Wayne showed up and said, we want you to be a rapper, we need you to make dope beats and dope lyrics, you listen to that. But when I showed up to your school and said, you need to understand the business behind the whole industry, what makes this industry move, why there's so much money there, you don't want to hear all of that. So, rappers who get too caught up in the entertainment side of everything, they get screwed. They get absolutely screwed. And in Dr. Anderson's book, he actually talks about how that's been true for black people for a very long time in other industries as well. We invented rock and roll. They stole that shit from us, and they're making all the money from that. We invented jazz and blues, and pretty much every interesting form of musical or dance expression in America came from us. We literally are the originators of so much of everything, and then people come along, they scoop it up, they mass produce it, mass market it, because that's what America's good at. See, if you want to learn, you got to learn from everybody. Learn from your oppressor, learn from your enemy. The white man is the best in the world at mass production and business. He is the best on this earth at finding a way to take something simple and multiply it on an absolute astronomical level to the point where he achieves world dominance. That's how we won World War II. In World War II, Hitler had the best stuff. He created the first submarines. He had the first jet airplanes. He had the first rockets. No one had ever launched a rocket on another city until Hitler did it to London in World War II. But the Americans, while we might have had products that were not as good, we didn't have planes that were as good as Hitler's. The difference is we were able to make 100 times more planes than he was able to make. We didn't have submarines that were as good as his. We just knew how to make tons more than he can make. So my point in all this is to say that there's something to be said about the ability to see a vision and mass produce that vision. So that's what happened in hip hop. You up here worried about just making the best music and the best style and all that, and that's fine. Be stylistic, be creative. But the business model is where you're taking the style and you're packaging it and you're multiplying it and mass producing it. So because, entertainment has sort of three elements to it. There's production, there's distribution, and there's monetization. Black people were really good at the production side in the sense of saying that we can go in there and we can make the best song in the world. And a lot of times, the reason, like you remember the singer Fantasia, she went broke too, because she couldn't read. She spent all her time learning how to be the best singer. She won American Idol, and she, again, the pipe dream a lot of entertainers have, like, oh, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna perform. They're gonna love me, and some white man gonna come along and pay my bills and sign a contract. I'm not gonna read the contract because I just want to sing. I don't care about the business, so I just signed the contract, not knowing that they're gonna rip me off, that they're gonna take a bunch of my money because I didn't even take the time to read what I was actually getting into. That's how New Edition got ripped off. New Edition had the #1 album in the world. They had so many #1 hits on that first album. Some of y'all who are old enough to remember, y'all remember when New Edition's first album came out, when he had, Candy Girl, right? When all that came out. And I remember being like in the 6th, 7th grade and being like flabbergasted by this group because they sounded like Michael Jackson. They were making so much money, or sorry, they were so popular and so much money was coming in. And when they got home, after the world tour was over, sold out stadiums all over the globe, they got home, they dropped them off in the projects, and they got that check. And they thought it was going to be a big old check. They were like, oh, I'm going to buy my mama a house, I'm going to buy her a car, all this other stuff. And they literally, on this check, they got $1.87. $1.87. And so, with those tens of millions of dollars that were made on that first tour, that somebody got rich off of that. And so my point is that, if we're not thinking about the business side of everything that we're involved with, we're always going to get screwed. And you can sit around and get mad about cultural appropriation and, oh, the Kardashians are stealing everything the black woman did and blah, blah, blah. Well, why aren't you paying attention to how Kim Kardashian is making $150 million every year, whatever the heck she's making, 100 million, 80 million. I don't know what she's making, but she's making money. Why aren't you paying attention to that? Because, why are you getting mad about it? Just understand the business model. You can do it too. So anyway, I think the reason you get mad, here's why you get mad. I think you get mad because you don't understand you're in a competition. Again, we tend to get mad when we have a barometer of fairness that is inconsistent with reality, right? Like if I show up at a basketball game and I'm thinking that everybody's supposed to give the ball to the other team, like to be fair, like we're supposed to get the ball an equal number of times. Like when I don't have the ball, when I haven't had the ball for a while or haven't scored, you're supposed to give me the ball. If I think I'm playing that game, then when you're dunking on me and you're scoring all the points, I'm going to get mad. I'm going to be like, you're not being fair. You're cheating. That's not right, right? But they're going to look at me and be like, no, man, if you want to score, you need to take the ball and score. So if you want to get ahead, you got to know how to compete. If you can't compete, then you're going to get screwed. Bottom line, when I had a conversation, I'm not even going to read more of this book. I'm going to throw this to the side right now. But when I had a conversation last night, I talked to the rapper D1 a lot. D1 is one of my favorite artists in the world. He's really, really good. And he called me yesterday. We talked for a while. And what I love about talking to D1, the reason I like talking to his brother is because we don't even talk about music. We talk about business. It's like, look, I know you got all that. I know you know how to go in the booth and make a dope song. I heard your song. His songs are really, really good. And he made a great song like about car notes. He literally made a song about how his swag is that he's like, I don't need a fancy car to be somebody, right? And I'm the same way. I think the same way. Like, no, I'm not gonna go waste my money on a fancy car and fancy clothes and fancy, just a bunch of stupid stuff to prove to you that I am somebody, right? No, I don't need all that. My self-esteem is intact. I know I'm somebody, even if you don't think of that. Even if you think I'm a nobody, I know I'm somebody. So instead of wasting my money, I'm going to go stack it and put it into something that's going to give me wealth that I can pass down to my children, right? So D1 and I think the same way on that. And whenever we talk, we always just talk about business. We talk about marketing, distribution. We talk about, brand building, and it's great. And the funny thing is that I remember having another conversation with another artist who wanted to talk to me about things, in the industry. And I remember saying to him, I said, well, Damon Dash and I created a program called Intelligent Boss Moves that, where you can go sign up. And I said, look, you can go in there for free if you want to. Since I know you're connected to my family, I'll let you in for free. And, and the thing was, every time he called me, I would say, did you go through the stuff that I sent you about business? Oh, I'm gonna get to it. Okay, well, then when you get to it, you call me then, because I don't really want to talk to you if your goal in life is just to make a bunch of music so you can go broke. This white man ain't playing with you. He ain't playing with you. He don't love you. He ain't gonna help you. The Democrats ain't gonna help you. Republicans ain't gonna help you. Corporate America ain't gonna help you. These institutions were not built for you. They are designed for your oppression. They're designed for your extreme exploitation, and that's it. So, that's just the reality. I don't mean to sound like like somebody presenting doom and gloom. I'm really sort of saying that as a people, we got to be ready for competition. And the thing is that you can win the competition. You have everything you need to win. You are the most brilliant group of people ever. The book Men of Mark, introduced to me by Pastor Kevin Cosby, the president of Simmons College in Kentucky. Simmons College is actually where we're holding the All Black National Convention this year. We just made an agreement to let them host the All Black National Convention. I'm so appreciative they were gracious enough to do it. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's going to be September 29th to August 1st. So please mark that on your calendar. It's going to be amazing. But he introduced me to a book called Men of Mark, where in this book in the 19th century, this author William Simmons, who got together with a group of ex-slaves, and you think you got problems, imagine the problems that they had as ex-slaves, and they pooled together their money so they could educate their people because they knew the white man wasn't going to do it, and if he did, he was going to do it wrong. So they built this school, ex-slaves, with the money they had in their pocket, and they ended up building this school that ended up educating tens of thousands of black people. Tens of thousands of black people. Somebody said Jay Morrison versus Boyce Watkins. No, ain't no competition. Me and Jay are boys. Like, this is not a competition. We're competing with other forces. We're not competing with each other. And there shouldn't be just one or two people. That's another thing. Again, Dr. Anderson talks about this, that that we need to get away from this Messiah one-man leadership. I'm not a Messiah. Jay's not a Messiah. We don't need messiahs. We need institutions. We need leaders that cannot be assassinated, leaders that can't just be discredited. Like, okay, you find out Dr. Boyce Watkins went out and got 7 extra babies mamas and had sex with a puppy or whatever the hell it is, whatever scandal, people might create to discredit somebody. That can't kill the movement. That can't kill the movement. That means if you decide you don't have faith in me, then go follow somebody else. Follow yourself too. Educate yourself. Make people follow you. Your children should be following you. You are the first educator of that child, not that white lady down at the school. The white lady down at the school does not love your child. The white lady down at the school does not care about your child. The white lady down at the school is more likely to destroy that black boy than she is to build him into a man. That is your job. Your job. Remember that. So let's get out of the competition. Ain't no Jay versus Boyce. Ain't no Umar versus Boyce. None of that. We all on the same team, even if we disagree. Whatever. So anyway, back to what Dr. Anderson was saying. Where was I? See, man, y'all made me lose my train of thought. Damn it. See, that's what happens. That's why I have a hard time reading the comments, because if I read the comments, my brain will drift off. So somebody, if you can remind me, please tell me what I was talking about a second ago, because I literally lost my train of thought. So what I would just generally say is that, in terms of preparing ourselves for the future, there's some very basic things you can do. Financial literacy needs to be a part of your child's educational curriculum in your household. You want to prepare your child to be in a fierce competition for scarce resources. It's only going to get worse. It's not just for black folks, though. It's actually true for all people. All Americans right now are being fundamentally screwed by the rich. Rich people are gaining all the wealth. The gap between the wealthy and the middle class is actually widening. The gap between the wealthy and the poor is actually widening. So it's going to continue. It's not going to change. So what happens is people will get you caught up in these little illusions, like vote for Bernie Sanders or vote for whoever, because this person's going to solve all your problems, and that's just not going to work. I know capitalism very, very well. Capitalism gives zero fucks about human beings. It does not give a damn about you. It does not care about your kids. It doesn't care about the environment. It doesn't care about the state of the long-term condition of America. Capitalism does not care. Capitalism is not such a horrible thing. Somebody said I was talking about D1. Okay, well, D1. I think I already talked about D1 enough, but that was my point. Like, I feel like, understanding business models is the key to getting ahead, in general, in any industry that you go into. Every industry has a business model behind it, but capitalism is very brutal in its purest forms. The problem with America is that America is practicing capitalism in a form that is too pure to be humane. And so I would just say, at the end of the day, black people got to learn how to compete in that environment. Social policy is not going to get you where you want to get to. Okay, the book Men of Mark. That's what I was talking about. Okay, so the book Men of Mark, one thing William Simmons said that I thought was amazing was he said back in the 19th century, 1887, something like that, he said, when he's talking about the excellence of black people, the greatness of black people. Black excellence, something that you've lost. You're not gonna get black excellence at a public school. They don't believe in black excellence. They believe in black inferiority. They believe that you are a pathetic underclass that needs to be sort of helped through assimilation. That they can, the best thing that they can do for a black person in their mind is to turn you into a white person, right? A cheap substitute for a white guy. But in this book, Men of Mark, he said, what other group of people can go through all the hell that we've gone through, go through 400 years of the worst slavery, worst oppression known to man, and still just a few years later be walking with kings and queens and presidents and professors and doctors and lawyers and engineers and scientists and everything else? Can't nobody else do that. Can't nobody else do that. We literally have a survivability, capability that is unsurpassed by anybody else on the globe. And if you look at the history of black people in this country and beyond, it actually makes more sense. It actually makes a lot of sense. Think about all the stuff we went through. And it's funny, when I was talking to the president of the Air Jordan brand yesterday, he brought this up. He brought it up. And I said, go ahead, man. I agree with you 100%. We were talking about the Middle Passage. If you look at the Middle Passage and how many people died in the Middle Passage, how horrible it was, most of those people died. Only the strongest survive. We're the descendants of the strongest who survived that. In slavery, in Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. Again, you can get a copy at the drboycelibrary.com. He talks about why black people were chosen for slavery. We were chosen for slavery because other people were not able to do the work. Other people would die. Out in their hot sun, working 14 hours a day, every day, they would die. And so somebody says, what color is the president of Air Jordan? He's black. His name is Larry Miller. You can look him up. And so when you look at that, and then you consider the fact that they would actually take the strongest slaves and breed us. They bred us like dogs. Literally, they had slave breeding farms where they would just have slaves there that would just breed, and they would just make them have the women would have babies, and the men would all they would do was have sex all day. So some of your sexual behavior, some of your irresponsible sexual behavior that you see from some black men is a direct descendant from slavery. Literally, for some men, the only power they had was in their dick. Basically, you're what you get from all of this, from all this oppression, from the death in the Middle Passage, from the fact that we survived the worst kind of treatment known to man, the fact that they took the strongest of us and bred us with the strongest women. Now you get a race of superhumans. You get a race. Think about it like this. I mentioned this yesterday. I said, there is no white equivalent to a Shaquille O'Neal. Ain't no white equivalent to a Shaquille O'Neal. 300 and something pounds with the agility of a deer, who is light on his feet the way Shaq was. Go look up Shaquille O'Neal when he first started his career. They had no answer for him. He's the only player I've ever seen in the NBA where they never had an answer for him until he got old. The only thing that could stop Shaq was himself. So, and somebody says we have the brains too. Absolutely. It translates into the brains. So what I'm saying to you is that black people have an ability to, if we do things right, if we commit ourselves to thinking in the right way, we can dominate the next generation. We can absolutely, positively, without question, dominate the next generation, because whatever we put our minds to, we become the best in the world. Look at Venus and Serena Williams. They're the only black women out there playing tennis. They might be one or two others. And they dominated like nobody else for many, many years. Look at when Tiger Woods started playing golf. He was the only black man on the entire course. There'd be 200 entrants, one black guy, and the black guy literally had scores so good that they had to go back 200 years to find anybody who had played that well on that golf course. We just dominate everything that we do. So I'm just telling you to re-embrace black excellence. Integration, watered down black excellence. When Men of Mark was written by William Simmons, he was talking about black excellence. You learn black excellence. You don't learn it from the public school. You don't learn it from corporate America because they see you as a charity case. You don't learn it from the Democratic Party because they see you as some pathetic group of people that they're trying to save and protect from the Republicans. You don't learn it from anybody other than your own people. other than your own family, your own institutions, right? You learn black excellence before integration. You might have learned black excellence from that black school teacher who whooped your ass every time you got out of line, right? You learn black excellence from your mama and from your father when they were both in the household, telling you that you're as good as anybody. That's how Martin Luther King learned his own excellent behavior or his own amazing capability, right? You learn black excellence from your people. You don't learn that from your oppressor. Your oppressor is not. I mean, when you read a book like this, like Dr. Anderson's book, what it does, what I love about the book is that it really kind of takes you to the root of white hatred for black people. It really breaks down and explains why they hate you so much and why they've been conditioned to hate you for hundreds of years and why that is not going to change anytime soon. So it doesn't mean that they're all bad. It doesn't mean they're horrible people. But Instagram's saying I only got 30 seconds left, so I guess there must be a time limit to how long you can go live on Instagram. But I'm going to get out of here. So go check out blackfinancialliteracy.com if you want to sign up for the stock market program. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. I'm out of here. Take care, guys. It was fun talking to you, and I hope you have an awesome day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.